I think that's just so cool. The entry that the countdown. Anyway, so my name is Mish. I'm a Trekkie, and welcome to day. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4. Day 6. Day 6 in our Euro Trek. What episodes did we watch today? So today was the Corbomite maneuver, and both part 1 and part 2 of the Menagerie. So let's just get into this. All right, so the Corbomite maneuver, first thing, my first note is do the yelling. And then I had to pause because Uhura is in a gold uniform. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to see which, I had to go on to Wikipedia because they had a list of the episodes and actually their production numbers, which is kind of in the order in which they were filmed, because of course they didn't air them in the order that they filmed. Hence the Man Trap being episode 6, or the 6th episode film. So this was actually the third. Corbomite maneuver was actually the 3rd episode filmed, and I think I can't remember the other episode. It was just here a little bit ago where Uhura was in a gold uniform, so that must have been really, really close because I know which one is it? The Enemy Within. That's episode 5, but that was actually the 5th episode filmed, and she's in a red uniform there. So, but anyway, so because it was such an early episode filmed, of course, we go back in time when it comes to the star date. It is star date 1512.2. When I get back to the dude the yelling, because of course Spock is yelling everything. I think it was basically just a sound thing. They just needed to be picked up. They were getting used to the set, getting used to the characters, that kind of stuff. So this is, they're flying through space and they come upon a flying Rubik's Cube in space. And then the Rubik's Cube doesn't let them pass, and so they try and get away from it. It chases them and they destroy it, and then they get this big ball that pretty much threatens to kill them all because, well, we're just an evil species because we destroyed a probe that looked like a Rubik's Cube. And then we meet Clint Howard. So let's see. So there were some things that kind of popped out at me. They're trying to get away from the Rubik's Cube, and he said, let's see, what does he say? He says full reverse, something like that. And so, of course, you've got this Rubik's Cube, and you've got here. Well, we'll use a ship. We'll use the NX So you got the ship, and you got the Rubik's Cube, and they're trying to get, I would say full reverse, they're trying to get away like this. And then he says something about go to warp 1. Are they doing warp in reverse? Like, are they actually flying in reverse? I don't know. Good question. I don't know, because they go up to like what? I think they said like warp 3. It's like they're going. Are they doing warp in reverse? Yeah. So, let's see. Okay, so even though we've met Janice before, Janice Rand, Yeoman Rand. Since this is kind of the first episode she kind of shows up in, when Kirk is eating his salad, and he says, this kind of stuck out to me. He says, "When I get my hands on the headquarters genius that assigned me a female yeoman," and McCoy says, "What's the matter, Jim? Don't you trust yourself?" Like, they are totally setting. I mean, yeah, the guy's a womanizer, but like, does he not trust himself that he's going to sexually harass his yeoman? Is that, I don't know. I don't know if that's kind of where they were going with that, because like in the last episode, he didn't really knock boots. He just danced the night away with that doctor, and then talked about the stars. She wanted to knock boots, though, definitely, when she's trying to implant that stuff in his head. Anyway, so it's totally feeding into his character of being a womanizer. But I don't know, looking into it today, it's like they're trying to build him into like Harvey Weinstein or something. Let's see. Also the whole United Earth ship. So he says, "I'm with the United Earth ship Enterprise." Of course, what is it? In the cage, it was United Spaceship. I can't remember if he had said Earthship in another episode. I can't remember, but I think it. Of course, they're still trying to figure things out. I think different writers are using different things. I have starred next to it. Bailey needs to see a counselor. Like, I don't know. Yeah, there's just some issue. And then of course, later on in the episode, he's relieved, is sent to his quarters. McCoy escorts him to his quarters, and then he comes back. Like, I don't even know if 5 minutes had passed. And I know, turbo lifts will get you there fast, but what did he do? Did he get to his room, step into it, and then come back and be like, "I'm good. Can I get back to my, go back to my duties?" I don't know. They played it off as, maybe Captain Kirk promoted him too quick. Is this a field promotion? I don't know. I think the whole, Starfleet Federation thing, all the hierarchy is all kind of, yeah. Now, here's another thing that I thought was interesting. Spock talks about his mother in the past tense. He says, and he never says that she died or passed away. It's just that when he referred to her, he referred to her in the past tense as if she was not with us anymore. I don't know. I was like, ooh, interesting choice of words. So were the writers just thinking, okay, well, his mom's dead. We're never going to do it. And then later on, we're going to retcon that and then do an episode where we meet mom and dad. I don't know. Let's see. I thought, okay, so this is how, sorry, Kat. dojo's underneath my desk here. So this is kind of how I've mentioned how I just think Rand's character is just super cool, and it's too bad that they didn't get to explore her further. But just in this first episode, we'll get technical later. But in this episode, like, of course, the power's gone out over the ship because this, Clint was like, I was beat up by my brother Opie, and I'm going to take it out on you. So she comes up to the bridge with coffee, and McCoy is like, I thought that the galley was out of power, and she says, oh, I just heated it up with a phaser. I was like, that's so. I hadn't caught that line before, but that kind of shows how intuitive or ingenious that that character is. Like, she can just figure stuff out. I like that. Let's see. Now, here, okay, I put this in the question. So, Star Trek VI, Undiscovered Country, it was established that if you fire a phaser, the alarm, would set off the alarms. Okay. And for you guys who haven't gotten that far, that's fine. If you're a super Trekkie, you've seen Star Trek VI. So that was established. Now, of course, this is, I don't know, 30 years later when it was established, but I said, when she heated up the coffee with a phaser, wouldn't that have set off the alarms? Okay. Or was that technology not available yet? Don't know. And then I did put down here Baylock, because of course the character at the end is this little kid who has this really horrible laugh, or at least the laugh is not synced up with the acting, which I thought was kind of funny. It says Baylock, my note says, looks kind of like Clint Howard, which actually that the actor is Clint Howard. Clint Howard has been like in everything. I don't know if he's the little brother or the older brother. I think he's the little brother of Ron Howard. But yeah, Clint's been like in everything. So, interesting episode. The whole, meeting a new species, playing the poker thing with the Corbomite, yeah, I don't know. I never really was a big fan of this episode. Now, yeah, and even with the new CGI, I'm still not a fan. On to our two-part, because today we actually had 3 hours of Star Trek, the Menagerie. So, the Menagerie, we're jumping forward, way forward, because it is Stardate. Now, they don't give a Stardate in the initial part. They do give a Stardate about halfway through the first episode. So it's Stardate at least around somewhere 3012.4. We kind of establish some things with the characters in this. Now, it's not the first time we've seen Spock do the Vulcan neck pinch, but it is, and it's actually not the first time that we see him do it this way. In my neck pinch book, I called the style of crossbody from behind the Menagerie, because that is it's very, very distinct. He actually does that one on Sulu in The Naked Time. But anyway, I call it Menagerie because it just kind of stands out. And let's see. Now, one of the things that this establishes, because of course the cage has not been put out there, and this was actually what is it? I think when I was looking on the list, this was like episode 15, 16, or 16, 17 that they filmed. So they're about halfway through the season, and they're running out of money. And I know Gene was like, hey, I got a way. Let's write a story where we can use footage from the original pilot. And that's what they do. And it was a great idea to incorporate and use that footage to save some dollars. Now, we established that Spock served with Pike 11 years, 4 months, and 5 days. That's pretty specific. Now, when we come into Strange New Worlds, we get Captain Pike, Spock, number 1, or Una, as her real name is, along with the rest of the crew. I guess Rebecca Romaine has said that it's roughly 10 years prior to Kirk. When we meet Captain Pike, it's roughly, because Discovery is supposed to be 10 years, and we meet him in season 2, so technically we're right around 9 years. So the whole 10-year thing, it's kind of up in the air. But of course, we have this relationship already established with Spock and Pike, so we know he's already been with him for a little bit. We just don't know exactly how long. I can't remember if they actually put that in second season of Discovery. Let's see, and then of course it also establishes that Kirk took over the Enterprise from Pike and was there when he got promoted to fleet captain. Okay, now the dude in the chair is not Jeffrey Hunter. I think I remember them talking about how they were gonna get Jeffrey Hunter. They wanted to try, but that didn't happen. So that's why they created the chair and had lots of makeup, and so he'd go beep, 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 beep. Now, when it comes to the beeps, my mom used to reference this, and I think I maybe have mentioned this before, but anyway, she always would be like, she would reference this episode sometimes and do that. And I wish I could remember the context in which she said it. Maybe it was just something that she remembered from watching Star Trek, either with my dad or me having it on all the time. That was just something that stuck out to her. So, but she'd bring that up a lot and then go beep, beep, beep. Let's see. All right, so when Kirk is in the Commodore's office and he meets the Commodore's, I guess, yeoman, he just introduces her as Miss Piper. Doesn't give her really a rank or anything like that, or a title, just says Miss Piper. Miss Piper says, "Oh, Captain, we have a mutual friend." And of course, Kirk goes white. Helen Johansson. And okay, so if Kirk is in, because he acted like, oh shit, what did Helen tell her? Like, so what did Kirk do with this guy? Like, total insinuation that something was going on. I found that funny. Let's see. Oh, all right. So at about 7 minutes ish, when Kirk goes into the little communications thing and he neck pinches technician Humboldt. That's his last name. His last name's Humboldt. So he knocks him out. Later on, when Spock is trying to send the computer messages up to the Enterprise so it could be pre-programmed to go to Talos 4, a guy walks in and he's like, "Hey, you're not supposed to be there." And then there's this fight. That's the same guy. Like, it's the same actor. So were we not supposed to figure that out? I don't get it, because like, okay, I'm doing something and all of a sudden, I pass out. And then, but the way the guy came up to Spock, it was like he had his clipboard. He had his clipboard. It's like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. So, like, I'm sure he'd be like, oh, what happened? Like, that's I'm imagining what would happen in real, is that he'd kind of wake up, he'd be groggy, he'd kind of get up, and then he'd be like, hey, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be here. But he just walks up like, just, I don't know. But it's the same guy. Okay. And then, of course, at some point, we get a top secret, confidential, eyes only, Talos 4, like notebook, like folder that the commander or the Commodore is sharing with Kirk. I get that it's part of the storyline, but it just kind of shows up. Like it felt kind of forced on us. I don't know. Yeah. And I know it was there. It was used as a tool to move the episode forward. I get it. It felt kind of forced. Kirk refers to McCoy as Bones. Now, I was watching, what episode was it? It wasn't Miri. It was the episode after that. We just watched it yesterday. Anyway, so I got to thinking, I haven't heard, and honestly, I hadn't paid attention, to be honest. I might actually have to go back and really kind of scan through. This might be the first time that we hear Kirk refer to McCoy as Bones. I could be wrong, but honestly, I hadn't really paid attention until today. I heard his name out, and I was thinking about it yesterday or earlier. I was like, wait a minute. When has he? I haven't heard it yet. Well, we heard it today. So definitely as early as the Menagerie that we hear about this, or we hear him call him Bones. Not sure if he called him Bones earlier though. This is our first look at a Starfleet shuttle. 1201. So I guess that's what the starbase number was starbase 1201. Actually, did they even give a starbase number? I can't remember. It's been a long day. And then, of course, it establishes that that the video that they were receiving was from 13 years prior. So when they come aboard, you have the Commodore and Kirk and all that kind of stuff, and Spock is like, "Yeah, I'm guilty." Yeah, so that was established. That was 13 years prior. I can't read my handwriting. Captain Pike. Oh, okay. This is funny. This is just something that I picked up on. So it's the beginning of part 2, and of course Kirk is kind of giving like a rehash, and in his captain's log, and he said, and like he's like, you know, we've been watching video from Captain Pike, and like he's really promoting, like, you know, when he was strong and virile, and like, you know, I know I'm paraphrasing, but he's really like totally upping this guy. And then he says, and then he just kind of throws in, and Spock from those days. It's like, okay, I know, I get, we get a slightly different Spock, a little bit more serious, no smiling, but I just thought that it was kind of funny that he's like totally propping up Pike, and he's like, and Spock from those days. This is so sad. All right, now I actually thought I had not as much notes, because really most of these 2 episodes are from the cage. Weird, all the new stuff is just basically courtroom shit. So in my notes from the cage, and I couldn't remember exactly what it was from, it said, it just said "the women" and then an exclamation point. I actually made a note of who said it and where. So when the crew is beaming down, the women beam down, but men stay there. And Spock yells, "The women!" I just thought that was kind of fun. Yeah. So, and then let's see, just before. Okay. Here's another question I have. So they're doing the trial and they're watching the video, and then just the video just cuts off. Like they established earlier that they cut off the video because Pike was getting tired and he needed to rest. So they basically took a break, came back, and watched more of the transmission from Talos. Then they have this scene where they just cut off the transmission. And the Commodore is just like, "Hey, they left you. You know, what's going on?" And Spock is like, "I don't know why, but he's like, "Okay, well, I'm ready to vote, And why did I'm kind of confused at why they made that decision in the story. Like it didn't drive the story forward anymore. It kind of like bottled. I don't know. I think they could have told the story a little bit differently, like drove the story a little bit differently. I don't know. Was it? I have a note. Okay, so why? Was it to build suspension before a commercial break? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they had to get in a scene where they voted Spock guilty. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, because like it almost seemed like minutes later, boom, they're at the planet and they're receiving a transmission again. So, and I think that's kind of where the spacing was that I was like, I just don't get it. And then of course, surprise, the Commodore was an illusion. So here's my question. Kirk has been with the Commodore for quite a bit. Like, all the time when Spock is off, creating, misinformation to get the doctor on the ship and get the ship programmed and all that kind of stuff so they can leave for Talos 4. Kirk has been hanging out with the Commodore. So at what point did the Commodore go from being a real human being to an illusion? Or was he an illusion the entire time? I don't know. So I'm just kind of curious. At what point did he become an illusion? Yeah, and actually that's my last note, because for the most part, the episode ends. I mean, I did kind of like the way they did the editing, because of course we see in the cage, we see Vina go back off with like her version of Pike. But in the Menagerie, we don't see that. We just see her get old, and then all of a sudden Pike is back on the Enterprise, and he's just like, "Yeah, I totally agree with her decision." So of course they use the scene of the two of them, running off and going down the broken elevator as a final scene. So I kind of like the way they edited that. I think it was a good, for the most part. Of course, there's nothing's the best. Well, actually, no. There is the best, and Wrathcon is the best. But when it comes to the way that they took a previous story, brought it into canon, something that happened prior, brought it into canon, created an episode around it. I thought it was pretty well done. Not bad. Not bad. Okay, so we are, what are we doing for tomorrow? Well, we have 2 more episodes for tomorrow. Let's see, what episodes are we watching? Okay, so episode 13 and 14, we have The Conscience of the King. That's an interesting episode. And The Balance of Terror. Ooh, the first times we get to see Romans. Or just the evil Vulcans. So now, tomorrow, I have Tuesdays are going to be weird because that's my daughter's volleyball game. She has a home game, and then I have a Zoom class at 7. I have a student in Okinawa, so it's his lunchtime. It's my dinner time. So after my Zoom class, I will do the podcast. So we have it scheduled. It's already up there. It's already scheduled for 8 p.m. tomorrow Pacific. I know that's a little late for Eastern guys, but unfortunately, that's the only time I can do it tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, we already have that scheduled. So Wednesday, I think I scheduled that for 5:30. I don't know. We will come to Wednesday when we come to Wednesday. I'm slowly trying to come up with a schedule, like a good schedule. Thursday we're gonna have our normal Lower Decks episode we'll probably do it at 5. I don't have to do a volleyball game on Thursday, so we'll do that at 5, and we'll do our year of Trek on at 6. So that's what we'll do on that. And then Friday we'll do year of Trek, probably at 6 again. And then there you go. So I'm trying to come up with a standard schedule, but it may change from time to time. Of course, it is volleyball season for high school for us, so we're a volleyball family. Trying to be a supportive father. I know, it sucks. It sucks for everything I want to do personally, but got to be there for the kids. And volleyball is actually a pretty cool sport. It's not all about the spandex. Besides, that's creepy for high schoolers. So there we have it. Today's episode, the future, the next coming days. If you do not have a Year Trek handbook, get it on Amazon. You can get it in the link in the description below. I've already started crossing off my episodes. You can see what I've done. There you go. And give us a like on Facebook or a follow. The link is not in the description right now. But please like this episode, share it, comment. Like, what did you think? Like, what do you think about the episodes? Or do you just think I'm just a freak and you don't understand why I'm even doing this? Well, I'm doing this because it's fun. Okay? Because it's crazy. All right. So there you have it. Year of Trek. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, live long and prosper.